I'm Ashton Addison from the Crypto Coin Show, and today on Blockchain Interviews with Luca Franchi, co-founder and CEO of Ambient Network. Luca, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you, Ashton. Pleasure to be here.
Excited to dive into decentralized physical infrastructure networks, DePIN, with you, and the environmental side of it, which I feel like is very important, and hopefully Web3 blockchain can help with the environment and making it a better place, better to live in. So I'm excited to dive into Ambient Network and what you and your team have built. Let's just start off from a high level on what exactly is Ambient Network, and then we can dive into all the latest details.
Great. No, thank you, Ashton. So Ambient Network is the world's largest decentralized network of environmental sensors and ambient data. And we have a fantastic starting position that we have one of the largest air quality networks in the world. So over 25,000 sensors across 20 markets. That gives us a fantastic view of what's happening across a number of regions, of course, and in areas that are impacted by a significant amount of pollution. Now, we believe that we can also extend that reach to complementary metrics, and we have a plan to, of course, start to capture these additional metrics with new sensors that we'll be bringing out over the next few months.
Wow, very cool. I love that. We're making a difference in the environment with decentralized networks, and I feel like air quality is becoming more of an important topic, especially as the ESG initiatives moving towards 2030. They're like, okay, if we don't have fresh air, how are we going to live? So how does that exactly work with Ambient Network being a decentralized network? There's already these 25,000 air quality sensors. Can anybody join the decentralized network and help contribute, or how does that work?
So that's the beauty of it, right? We have democratized the access to be able to, of course, for anybody to participate, for anybody to be rewarded as part of the network, to also ultimately help us expand the network into areas that we deem are more, more pressing for where some of these readings are required. And this is the benefit of using DePIN, as opposed to some of the other networks, of course, that require, of course, significant amounts of capital to deploy, that require coordination from multiple initiatives. Here we have, a mechanism through the economic incentives that rewards users from, of course, for deploying these sensors that typically we certify for a network. So we do work with manufacturers that already exist out there, and a range as well, from more consumer-friendly to more scientific-grade devices. And of course, based on those sort of sensors, they're getting different rewards, depending also on the areas where some of these sensors are deployed. Then being able to bring those maps and that coverage together in a way that no other network is able to do. So that's quite exciting.
Mm-hmm. No, it's of utmost importance, especially in the large cities where there's more pollution. And I love that obviously you want to have an incentive to, hey, why should I set up a sensor? Obviously, I want to have fresh air, but if I'm also earning at the same time, that's like a super bonus. But once you measured the air quality, is there a way to, do you sell off that data to somebody who can actually improve the air quality, or how do you actually improve the environment from the sensors?
So that's a very good question, because that's step one anyways, to be able to measure that so we can change that. Ultimately, I think there's a great deal of awareness that we need to start to introduce in the market. I think with 70,000 US wildfires occurring every year, and that happening across the world, with the reports from the WHO, last year showing just how toxic also the air across Europe is, some of the world's most polluted areas in Southeast Asia. People naturally are seeing this all around them. We provide the tool sets, if you will, to start to be able to measure that yourself, both from an outdoor perspective and indoor perspective. Now, there is a market, for that data, and today it's primarily on the outdoor data aspect. We believe that with additional environmental metrics, that data becomes more meaningful, because if you look at the environmental monitoring market, It's about a $30 billion market as opposed to air quality alone, which is a fraction of that. But it allows us then to also be able to target great commercial opportunities, to work with various industry players, to identify the sort of data and sensors that they require for the various industrial deployments and whatnot that they're looking for, and also be driving utility back to the network for everything that we do.
That's amazing. And with this, the DePIN, the actual physical infrastructure network, how does that tie into Web3 and blockchain? I'm guessing there's some mechanism that allows people to contribute, and then also they're rewarded and it's on chain.
Well, I mean, the data itself. So every sensor has an NFT, and every NFT then, it tracks through the systems that we have. Of course, a number of things. The type of sensor, where it is, has been deployed, and ultimately the sort of rewards that it should receive based on the data that it sends back to us. And that's how you get reward initially. And for every commercial deal that we bring into the network, then there's a benefit that's distributed to the network or burned or tokens purchased back from the market.
Very cool. And I feel like this is a topic of utmost importance because, as we get closer to the deadlines for the sustainability goals, more people are going to be talking about this. So I feel like you're getting ahead of the curve. If we can be a few years ahead, hey, we already built out the networks and their DePIN networks, which are even better, then you're going to be ahead of those of that. Now, I saw actually on socials that a few great blockchain partners invested into Ambient Network, like Solana Ventures, Borderless. Can you talk about the investments that you guys just had from the blockchain side and where you guys are at with that?
Well, the partners that came on board, certainly fantastic support from them. They saw an opportunity to ultimately leverage the network that already exists, again, to start to pursue and expand the remit that we have, and the commercial opportunities that we can go after on one side. On the other, there's fantastic excitement around DePIN this year. It's already been building up for some time. You're seeing some great deployments, especially on Solana, and a fantastic ecosystem that really we're keen to leverage. We're keen to leverage the likes of the Saga phone as well, and ultimately the excitement that's built around that. So it's part of catching that wave in a big way.
That's very cool, and I love that you mentioned the Saga phone. That'd be great to use it as a one of those DePIN sort of nodes or something like that. With Solana Ventures investing, I'm sure the underlying infrastructure is Solana. Can you talk about why that is a good blockchain for Ambient Network and for DePIN in general?
Well, I think it's the reach. Ultimately, the developer ecosystem. Again, it goes back to the size of the network, what we're seeing, the adoption. Really, it has the eyes and ears, and the excitement of also of other DePINs being part of the space that ultimately we want to work with, because I think it's important to leverage the communities that really understand what we're doing, especially at this early stage. And so it's a great home for us. Of course, being backed by Solana Ventures doesn't hurt either. We're excited to be building this view, this environmental DePIN view, as part of their ecosystem.
No, I feel like it's a great touch. And I've seen around the DePIN narrative, smart devices, usually combining some kind of AI, either for transit or for just smart devices for entertainment, but I haven't seen as many for environmental impact, which is probably even more important, because if you don't have a good environment, entertainment is a secondary thought after actually breathing fresh air.
And this is the exciting thing, right? It's about, number one, building something that will have impact, and also a sustainable business at that. Ultimately, we always need to be driving utility back to the network, and it's important for us to find that product market fit when it comes to the sort of services and data, ultimately, and products that we're delivering back to various industries and the opportunities that we find, but also that will feed the network and the belief by our network participants ultimately to of course, want to continue to deploy their sensors and be part of the network, provide that data back, and of course the benefits that we provide. Yeah.
Definitely. And to become a network participant, from what I understand, there's different types of sensors that maybe don't have as much data, some have a lot more. How can I become a network participant? Do I have to go buy some hardware? What's the cheapest way I can sort of start getting involved in helping bring in data?
Yeah. So, we are relaunching our storefront. So the exciting bit is that there will be a new experience later this summer as part of the roadmap. Beta storefront in Q3, and we'll be introducing a range of new sensors as well that hopefully lower the barrier to entry. Because in the past, there were a few $100 sensors up to $2,000 sensors. We believe that we can introduce even a lower cost and with just as good quality data capture and metrics, and ultimately to expand the footprint and the network that we already have to tens of thousands more, right? For everybody to be able to participate, expand in areas that we don't have coverage today, and again, help us and our mission and ultimately get that environmental map and coverage out.
Definitely. And what do you think will be some of the catalyst factors for just the growth in hopefully DePIN altogether, but also just Ambient Network? Do you think it's going to be a combination of just environmental consciousness or interest in DePIN devices, interest in Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF, which trickles into the other sectors? What do you think will help grow this initiative?
I think it's a number of things. By the sound of consensus, recently everybody wanted to be a DePIN project. I think that's quite a good thing. It also has created, I'm sure, some annoyances out there, but ultimately it's great to see that excitement all around. The overall macro market, I think, with great conditions to see more folks want to get involved. We're also taking a slightly different approach or a hybrid approach where it's not just an exclusively hardware sensors. We're coming out with a mobile app called AmbiGo later this month, which will, as a first experience anyway, get folks to be able to participate in the ambient ecosystem, get folks to go around the places that they visit on a day-to-day basis, to help us create part of that environmental map by answering a few questions, by rating places. Ultimately, we believe that there's also an opportunity to expose more of this data to the consumer and to the general public, especially go around cafes or restaurants or cinemas, gyms and whatnot, because most of the air quality monitoring that's done today is outdoor, but there's also we spend a lot of our time indoor on a day-to-day basis, and we believe that anyway there is an opportunity to create a map specifically targeting everyday use cases, but also of course to get folks to get rewarded for that initial data, and it may start in a qualitative way, but over time we believe that through even just a mobile phone there's an opportunity to capture more quantitative data. And so to use the microphone and the camera, for example, for noise pollution and those sort of metrics. Of course, it can capture air quality, but over time, there's already a whole lot of capability built into these microcomputers. So may as well utilize them in conjunction with the hardware sensor network that we've created.
Definitely. No, I think that's a great point and a great addition. Everyone has a smartphone to be able to just be able to contribute to the network of saying, hey, I can tell the air is bad in here. I don't need a sensor to tell you that the inside of this building sucks. We need fresher air. If you can add that, manually input that through the app that you guys are building, there's value in that as well, definitely.
100%. And it also enables us to create a funnel of participation, right? Because you're getting folks that may know very little about this ecosystem, whether they come from the blockchain and crypto space or they don't. Ultimately, here is an application that rewards you for just going around and participating in this ecosystem and following some of the basic steps. that we provided, and over time, I think that will create also a funnel again to for sensor ownership, for hardware sensor ownership, and to participate at some of the higher reward levels as well. And ultimately, this will have come from not just participation, but greater awareness about our mission and the things that we capture, and ultimately in some of the impacts that we believe are all around us, that we measure naturally, that are all around us, and that will help us educate and create that drive for change.
Very interesting, Luca. And you mentioned the app coming in the future. There's a new hardware store. I'm sure you have much more. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on the roadmap moving into Q3, Q4, towards the end of this year. What else is Ambient Network working on?
So this Q2, we've been calling it the birth of Ambient. There's a lot on our plate. Ultimately, we're launching tokenomics. We're launching the Ambigo app. We're also launching a bit of a migration incentive, because ultimately we have an existing network that's on Algorand today that will be migrating over to Solana. So that is quite an achievement in and of itself, what we'll be doing. But in Q3, that deployment will go live with all of the accoutrements, if you will, the reward engine, the rebranded onboarding services, the Explorer, the My Sensor dashboard, all of that being rebuilt for this new ecosystem, right? And of course that will coincide with the token launch itself. And what we need to do for every network participant that's already on the network, ultimately not just swap those tokens, but also get the NFTs over for the sensors and for the licenses and all of that good stuff. And once that's done, later this summer, we'll be in a fantastic position then to scale up and to scale up in a big way, to relaunch the storefront, and to start to look at also how do we, now that we've taken care of the fundamentals, really build on a better UX, better experience and journey ultimately across the whole range of our digital footprint, and also how we drive the enterprise and dashboarding abilities that we're targeting, because we have a number of POCs in the works with a number of hotels and campuses and other sort of enterprise clients that will be announcing anyway over the next few weeks as we start to deploy them. It's all very exciting, but it gets us to test the solutions that we're bringing together for those specific verticals, and ultimately again drive that commercial traction back into the network and showcase what the strength of the network all coming together really means. So really exciting rest of the year and roadmap ahead.
Definitely. No, that's a lot on the plate. I'm wishing you guys all the best, and it sounds like you're moving in the right direction. The migration to Solana, I think, is a great idea, and the software app to contribute through mobile phones, I think, is a great idea. And a hardware store is also very cool. I have gotten a few DePIN hardware devices in the past, and they're just so cool. So I would love to contribute to that myself when it does go live. And I'll
We'll
watch
definitely
for
be
you.
setting you up. Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds great. And what is the best way for people to follow along with the migration and to get started? I'm not sure if they should get started now with the hardware or wait for the changes. How can they follow along so that they can get started on day one when it's best to start contributing and getting rewarded on the network?
So first thing is follow ambient.network, follow our Twitter, follow my LinkedIn, Luca Franchi. Well, you'll be able to get all the latest, greatest. We'll be announcing over the next few weeks the mobile app launch and how you'll be able to use it and download it. You'll be able to follow all the developments on the storefront as well. And ultimately, there is no way to participate beyond the mobile app today. So that will be the first thing, unless you're already a network participant and you have an old sensor. We're asking everybody to bring them back online. We'll have a number of incentives out, as part of the migration for folks to bring their sensors back online if they may have disconnected them. But ultimately, really taking this wave in full into Solana.
Amazing. I'm wishing you guys all the best. Our discussion was a breath of fresh air for me. So it's really nice to see somebody impacting the environment in a positive way using DePIN and Web3. I'm gonna make sure that the links to the socials for Ambient Network and your Twitter and LinkedIn as well, if anyone wants to reach out, are all in the show notes below. And wishing you guys all the best on the updated mobile app launch, move to Solana. And let's definitely follow up in the near future when all of this comes to fruition.
Sounds great. Thank you, Ashton. Pleasure. Speak soon.